The Orange and Blue put together a sharper 60-minute performance in search of a 15th straight win. We get you set for the Oilers and the Blackhawks right here on the Oil Stream pregame show. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Oil Stream pregame show. Tom Gazzola with you live from the EST Satellite Studios in beautiful downtown Edmonton. Zach to come and YouTube Trev holding things down back at EST HQ on our city's west end. And Matt Kassian will be joining us a little bit later on for Game Changers as the 27-15-1 Edmonton Oilers take on the 14-31-2 Chicago Blackhawks. It's game number 44 of the season for the Oil, and they are cruising. A great situation to make it 15 wins in a row. Some have said trap games. Some have said, I don't like the feeling about this, and I totally get it. The Blackhawks have not won a road game in 18 straight. The Blackhawks played in Seattle last night and lost 6-2. The Blackhawks have a million injuries, which we will talk about in just a few minutes. If you're listening on the TuneIn app or our audio stream via EdmontonSportsDoc.com, we appreciate that so much. You can text us 780-218-9999. And if you're watching on the EST YouTube channel, you can get in on the nasty chat. I saw some chats going on earlier. You nasties getting in before we start the show. Absolutely love it. Appreciate it so very much. Also hit the thumbs up button. Let's play that algorithm game. We will also hear today from Darren Pang. Had a chance to do the rink report with him. If you haven't seen it, we will run that as well to give you the scoop on these Blackhawks that have been struggling. If you're going, what the hell is Panger doing with the Blackhawks? Well, he played goalie for them like 30 years ago, and he did leave the St. Louis Blues broadcast and has joined the Blackhawks regional broadcast, as well as his duties on the NHL on TNT. An absolutely fantastic guy, big golfer, and knows his stuff in the hockey world, and was gracious enough to give us about 5 or 6 minutes of his time. So we'll catch up with Panger. You'll hear from him via the rink report a little bit later on in the program. All right, Zach DeCum is at the helm today. Zach DeCum, what's going on, pal? You doing all right?
I'm doing just fine there, sir. Thanks for asking. Yeah, we're just getting things rolling, and, you know, Trev is here just showing me the ropes and making sure I'm doing everything good, so we're situated nice.
I believe you. I trust you. We're going to have a good show. Good vibes, Zach DeCum. Good vibes. What's Trev doing? What's he doing? Is he watching you? He's
standing over me like a hawk, like one of those teachers where, you know, you're writing your tests and they would come stand over you to see if you got it right. And they'd be like, maybe, are you sure that it's B? Maybe it might be D. Just go over your questions, class. No, I'm kidding. No, he's just watching, making sure I'm doing everything good. And we're having a good time over here.
What's up, boy?
Attaboy, Trev. Trev, is today the anniversary of the day we met you? Did I see that correctly?
He can't hear you, but yeah, it is. He posted that video up on Twitter, the 1-year anniversary of Travis. Yeah.
Yeah, I called him Travis. I couldn't remember his name in the heat of the moment back in January of 2023. So it's been great having Trevor on board, and as he's affectionately known as, YouTube Trev, and he's done a great job. And Zach DeCum, you're in good hands over there with YouTube Trev. So let's rock and roll, shake and bake, and have a great show. Dell saying, Gazzy, are you losing YouTube Trev? No, it's just YouTube Trev and Awanik have been doing a lot of heavy lifting. And now that we have Zach DeCum on his practicum is learning the ropes, and we want to get him ready for whatever job entails after he's done his practicum. Maybe it's with us. I don't know. Maybe it's somewhere else. Maybe he goes on to become a superstar TV, radio guy somewhere. I don't know. But we want to make sure that Zach DeCum is getting practical experience, and that wherever he winds up, he's ready to rock and to contribute right off the hop. So this is a good way to do it. So let's welcome Zach DeCum with open arms you nasties. I know you will and already have. Okay. I'm going to throw out the question of the night as the Oilers look for win number 15 in a row. Hit us up, 780-218-9999. That is the inbox number. Or you can get at us on the nasty chat. We saw the Oilers have 2 sloppy periods, very loose, against Columbus on Tuesday night. And a lot of the players in the room today were saying, hey, Leon said those were the 2 best or 2 worst periods of the season. Now, listen, that's debatable. I mean, they've had some absolute stinkers early in the year, absolute stinker periods. But yeah, they were pretty loose in those first 2 periods against the Jackets the other night. They cleaned it up in the 3rd period. Everyone in the press box the other night was saying, hey, just win the 3rd period. Everything should be okay. They did that. That's great. So they want to clean it up. So question of the night, are you concerned bad habits are starting to creep into the Oilers game during this winning streak? As is tradition, Zach DeCum, the producer, gets the first crack at the question of the night. What would you say to, are you concerned bad habits are starting to creep into the Oilers game during this winning streak?
Honestly, I don't really think they are. I mean, they've had a few off nights, and for the most part, they've looked really strong. A couple times against Columbus, so those first 2 periods were a little bit sloppy, but the Oilers are doing good, and I think they're playing well. So I shouldn't be worried. I am not worried, and I don't think other people should be worried about how the Oilers are playing and that any bad habits are creeping into their game.
All right, Zach DeCum has the faith. Zach DeCum, good job. Nicely done, pal. Nice and tight there. No wheeze. All right, you're coming around real nice. Real nice. What say you? Zach DeCum has the faith. He says he's not too worried about bad habits creeping in. We did see a lineup shuffle midway through that game because Kris Knoblauch said he thought that the team needed a jolt. That certainly worked. The spark led to 3 goals in the 3rd period. And speaking of those lines, that is exactly what we will see tonight, at least to start, is the same formations that we saw to wrap up that game against Columbus in the 4-1 victory. It's going to be McDavid with Draisaitl and Hyman to start, Nugent-Hopkins with Kane and Fogle. You've got McLeod with Holloway and Brown. And then on the 4th line, Derek Ryan between Matthias Janmark and Sam Gagner. On defense for the Edmonton Oilers tonight, Nurse with Ceci, Ekholm with Bouchard, Kulak with Desharnais. Out for the Oil tonight, Corey Perry and Phil Kemp, who was recalled a day after being sent down. And so they need an extra body on D, and Phil Kemp is back in the fold. Corey Perry looks like they're going to stick with the plan and play him Saturday afternoon against the Nashville Predators. As for the Chicago Blackhawks, we will see if there's any lineup changes. They did get into town late after losing in Seattle yesterday. They did not hold a morning skate. They opted for the rest, as teams tend to do. And so this is how the Blackhawks rolled out against the Kraken last night. They had Philip Kurashev with Nick Foligno and Taylor Radish, Jason Dickinson, who's is having a good year because we're already past the midway point. Jason Dickinson centering Colin Blackwell and Joey Anderson. Mackenzie Entwistle between Rem Pitlick and Ryan Donato. And then Zach Sanford centering Boris Kachuk and Reese Johnson. On defense for the Hawks, Alex Vlasic with Seth Jones, Kevin Korchinski with Jacob Megna, Jared Tenorti paired up with Louis Crevier. On the IR, this injury situation for the Blackhawks. I know we just over 2 weeks ago when the Oilers played the Hawks, we were like, oh my goodness. And we're still at that point with this Hawks team. They have gotten Foligno back. That is good. They did just get Joey Anderson back. That is good as well for them. But the IR is almost as long, or there's probably the same amount of players on the IR, if not more, than on the entire defense for this Blackhawks team. So Connor Bedard, IR, fractured jaw. Taylor Hall, IR, knee. Tyler Johnson, IR, undisclosed. Andreas Athanasiou, IR, groin. Anthony Beauvillier, IR, upper body. Nikita Zaitsev, IR, knee. Connor Murphy, IR, lower body. Ouch. Starting goalies tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. I know Joaquin Gage really wanted to see Stuart Skinner go for a 12th consecutive victory in his franchise-setting pace for goaltenders, and he surpassed Grant Fuhr with his 11th straight victory. And that will not be the case tonight as the Oilers seek as a team their 15th consecutive win. It will be 31-year-old Calvin Pickard, who is 4-2 this season, 269 goals against average, 903 save percentage in 7 games this season. Pickard versus Chicago, 2-4 record, 323 goals against average, 925 save percentage in 8 games against the Blackhawks over the course of his career. And at the other end of the rake, it is the gentleman who has just signed an extension with the Hawks, 31-year-old Peter Mrazek, 12-17-1 with a 301 goals against average, 907 save percentage, 1 shutout in 32 games this season. Mrazek versus the Oil, lifetime, 3-5-0 with a 313 goals against average, 888 save percentage, and 2 shutouts in 9 games against Edmonton over the course of his career. Question of the night, one more time. I'll throw it out there. Are you concerned bad habits are starting to creep into the Oilers game during this winning streak? 780-218-9999. I'll even throw in a bonus question of the night. What do you think of Pickard getting the start? I know some people said, let Skinner go. But I personally, either guy, you can't go wrong right now with how the team's playing, despite those bad 2 periods that they had the other night. I have faith watching Pickard and seeing what he's been able to do of late, in him getting the job done tonight against a depleted Blackhawks team. I understand Joaquin Gage's case for Stuart Skinner continuing to ride this hot streak. We'll see Skinner again Saturday. I'm sure he'll be rested and he'll appreciate the time off tonight, especially if Pickard gives them a good night. I don't mind it. So what do you think of Pickard getting the start? And then question of the night, are you concerned about bad habits creeping into the Oilers game during this winning streak? I want to hear from you, 780-218-9999. And then get at us in the nasty chat. Someone said, hey, Tommy. Coyote Steve says, hey, Tommy, have you ever heard of or thought of wearing a fedora? You could rock it and start a trend. Thank you, Coyote Steve. I have not. I will leave that fedora thing alone. Coyote Steve also wants to know if Trevor's doing the Skinner mustache or is Skinner doing the Trev. Let's say Skinner's doing the Trev for sure. Petter's Pancake says, hey, the Hawks gave Mrazek 4.25 for 4 more years. Geez, if they wanted to overpay someone, Holland would have gladly helped them out. Hey-oh. Dell says, got to play Captain Pickard. I know you want me to say Pickard at some point, Star Trek reference. And then T. Willison says, Pickard has earned some more starts. I like it. And Kevin says, I would have gone with Skinner, but I don't disagree with Picks getting a start in best team to have him play. Yeah, that's for sure. What else? Baby Josh, you talk about the whole team pretty much. You talk about the sloppy play. I think that's what you're talking about. I'm assuming as much. And let's go into the inbox, 780-218-9999. Dirty Curdy says, hey, Tommy, I bet my house Perry scores before Brown. What do you think? From Dirty Curdy. I like your chances, Dirty Curdy. I like your chances of that happening. Although the boys today, I think on 2 Guys and a Goalie, or maybe it was a Nielsen show, we're talking about getting a good vibe that Connor Brown scores tonight. I don't know. I don't get a lot of confidence watching his puck touches lately, and he's certainly fighting it. And I joke about when he did an interview, I think it was a week or 2 ago in Anaheim. I don't know where they were, but they were on the road, and I think Connor Brown used the term fun, having fun. This is fun about 14 or 15 times in a 3-minute interview. Clearly not having fun. So it would be great if one went off his button in. It would be great if he had a tap in that he couldn't miss. That chance last Saturday that he got set up from Dylan Holloway, and he put it right into Dan Vladar's arm at an empty net. That is the most telltale sign that he is gripping the stick in his own head. Whatever term you want to use, cliche, he is not in a good space right now in terms of confidence, and that's indicative of that play certainly was. So Dirty Curdy, yeah, I like Corey Perry's chances of scoring first. The Liquid Beaver says, hey, Tommy, stoked to hear you and the boys are going to be in Vegas. Me and Mrs. Liquid Beaver are going to be there too. Booked the trip in August when the NHL schedule came out, flying out Vegas Thursday to Anaheim, catching the Oil on Friday against the Ducks. Just maybe a guy might witness history live. If I see you, I will buy you guys a libation because that's what the Liquid Beaver does. Liquid Beaver, very excited. Yeah, we'll be around. The boys and you know what? We're going to be around. So we're excited about this. It's going to be neat. I know that they have a bunch of stuff that they've got to take care of in conjunction with the airport. And maybe I'll bounce around and hop in there with them if they want me to. But yeah, Tuesday's going to be a game day, but we're going to be in and around the arena. So Liquid Beaver, come say hi and shoot us a note, and we'll get back to you and meet you and Mrs. Liquid Beaver. And I'm not flying out till Wednesday night, so maybe a post-game libation with some nasties who might be down in Vegas for that game on the 6th. All right. Zachary, how are we doing over there, Zacticum? We're okay?
Yeah, I'm doing absolutely fantastic over here.
Excellent. I like to hear that. I like the confidence. This is good. Are you ready to get to the rink report with Darren Pang?
I am. We could head down to the Oilers rink right now with the rink report.
All right, let's go to the rink. It's the EST Rink Report. Tom Gazzola with Darren Pang from the Chicago Blackhawks broadcast. You can also catch him on the NHL on TNT. Panger, I know you guys were in Seattle last night. Tough go for this team again. I know it's a rebuilding season and all of that, but give us the scoop on what happened against the Kraken.
Well, I mean, number one, the Kraken are a desperate team. They got Vince Dunn back after 4 games, and they've been really hit hard with the flu. I know a lot of teams have. I understand that the Oilers at one point, I think every team in the NHL has gone through that. And it's something that we don't recognize on a day-to-day basis, who's injured, who's not injured. But when you've got a bunch of guys that are sick, that's a really tough one to get out of your system. And so anyway, Seattle started off real well. The one thing I'm impressed with the Hawks is that they've maintained a level of professionalism. And even though they haven't won a road game in 17, and they're obviously second worst team in the NHL in terms of standings, they've kept a really good attitude and they've a real good professionalism. I think Luke Richardson's done an incredible job in that area, and even last night's game, a quick breakdown, down 2-1, score a goal 2-1, make it 2-1, put the pressure for the last 5 or 6 minutes on Seattle, and then start the second period with a really bad fluky goal against a bad execution, goes off a skate, goes in the net, and that's part of being prepared and being ready to play. And I thought that was a real momentum sapper for them last night.
You talk about Luke Richardson, the mindset. There's a lot of injuries on this roster. We know. I'm going through the list this morning. I'm like, geez, this is tough. And I've seen this with the Oilers at times over the years. But the guys who've come up, the guys who've been brought in, it seemed like a couple weeks ago, even when we saw them play the Oilers, they gave them everything that they could, all hell that they could. And is that kind of the mantra that Richardson's kind of putting forward right here?
Yeah, I mean, I think people here in Edmonton know what he's all about. He was always revered as a leader, but a consummate pro, a guy that didn't get too high or too low, but when he got a little intense and maybe a little sour or a little upset with how he played or how people played, he knew how to say it. And I think he's done a really good job of kind of parlaying that with the group, not letting them off the hook, making sure that they know that what's happening isn't good enough. But the fact of the matter is, you look at rosters and you look at deficiencies skill-wise and execution-wise. Listen, they just don't have the top-end guys, and that's just the facts of the matter. So they're giving it a good effort. They're going to come in here tonight on a back-to-back. They're not going to be an easy out. And I was just talking to Calvin Pickard about it, and he goes, man, they played really well last night. And I think that's the word from a lot of the people, and that's impressive, and that says a lot about Luke and the players that are there because, there's no the cavalry's not coming.
Right.
And even Connor Bedard, for as good as Connor obviously is as an 18-year-old, I mean, we know how you can't just put Connor McDavid and and have him around very limited skill and say just go execute. It's just not going to work. So I think in this case it's going to be great in the future, but right now it's a bit of a challenge.
In my time with the team for 8 years, there were some tough moments, but I would always bring up bright spots during a season because you had to. We're seeing Peter Mrazek getting an extension here. Is he honest? He's one of the bright spots from this group, right? And what does that say that they want to give him that faith and bringing him back for a couple more years?
I think it's really outstanding. I think selfishly as a broadcaster, I'm really excited because these are veteran guys that, when you're new to a team, you have an opportunity to dive into the locker room, and there's no better way than to talk to veteran players, whether it be a Connor Murphy that's been injured or Peter Mrazek. I have found a part of him that I didn't know anything about. His work ethic, but he's got a charm about him. I can see how he endears himself to his teammates. They want to play hard for him. And then Nick Foligno. Like Nick Foligno, you could throw Nick Foligno right now onto the bench, and he'd probably morph into the head coach. And then you could throw him on the studio at TNT, I'm sure, and he'd end up being the main guy. He speaks well, he's eloquent, but he thinks the game of hockey really well, Fair. And he has a great way of saying things. And Jason Dickinson is another guy that I didn't know a whole lot about. Really impressed. I mean, this guy's a plus 10 on this team, while a lot of players are leading the Greater Hartford Open at minus 25. So, I mean, he that's really impressive for Jason. And he goes against the other team's best players.
Right.
So he's played physically, he's established that part of the game, and so for Kyle Davidson to make a commitment and sign these guys instead of at the deadline, okay, let's move them for a second, let's move them for a first, they've got 18 picks in the next 2 rounds. The cupboard's getting full.
Yeah.
They need to show that stability and show Connor Bedard and show some of the younger players that we're going to be set. These are the kind of guys we want to go to war with, and that's why I'm really excited about it.
All right. We're giving a little bit of love to the Oil Kings today, rightly
like
so.
I'm not playing goal for them today, okay? I'm not skating for them.
They need a goalie today. What are we going to see on the ice when the Oilers and Blackhawks play tonight? What do you think?
Well, I mean, a highly charged team that wants to keep this streak going, and I'm sure that they also want to protect their goalie, Calvin Pickard. I think that's an important part of it. A couple of games ago in Vancouver, the Canucks came off a really emotional and impressive win against Toronto. Their next game was against the Blackhawks. Rick Tocchet didn't start Casey DeSmith. He started, his big goalie, Thatcher Demko, and he said, we can't take this team for granted. And I think, in the situation of the Oilers, knowing that the Hawks are going back-to-back, they know they're not going to have the gas in the tank for the rush chances or the speed part of the game. But I think they're going to be prepared for a down-low cycle game and see that there's still a really good work ethic with the Hawks. So, I mean, for me, if the Hawks have any chance, it's got to be a low-scoring game. Peter Mrazek's got to be the first star, the second star, and the third star in this hockey game. So that's a lot to ask, but he has certainly given them that kind of goaltending. And if the Oilers take him for granted, then they might be in a little bit of a scare. But they're pretty rock solid right now and playing. I'm not going to deceive you on this one.
Yeah, Edmonton going for a 15th straight win. Peter Mrazek endeared himself to the crowd here in Edmonton at the World Juniors. We'll see how it goes tonight. Darren Pang, huge thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Keep up the great work.
All right, that's the EST Rink Report down here at Rogers Place.
A huge thank you to Panger, such a good man, great broadcaster, and just really appreciate him doing that for the Rink Report. We're going to try to do more Rink Reports. I think as we progress here, it's become a kind of a half-decent little segment that we can do down at the rink, and it's not hard getting to know people around the National Hockey League over the years that I've been covering this damn Oilers team. Make a lot of friends, so nice to have them on to chat about the opposition. So big thank you to Panger, and really, really appreciate it. All right. I think we can go to a couple of texts. We do have Cass coming up soon. I am seeing this from Jimbo, and I love the fact that our new inbox, because we didn't have this capability at 1260, we could get pictures from people, and we can also send pictures to people. Jimbo says, I'm cracking a 6 o'clocker for the first time. Good job, fellas. She hits the spot after a long day. And Jimbo, that looks like a delicious, crisp 6 o'clocker lager in a nice pint glass. And I want to know what you think of it too. Give me the review on how it tastes. And Jimbo actually just texted back, says crushable. Yes. I love it. The third batch of 6 o'clocker lager, I think, has been restocked. If I'm going off of what the good folks at Alley Cat have put out on their social media. So that was the third batch. I think the Sobeys and Safeway liquor stores are restocked now. And I need to go pick some up tomorrow for sure. Actually, after I talked to Panger, I caught up with Rogan Dean from the Edmonton Oil Kings, and I sent them
some 6 o'clocker lager as well. And I said, I need to know what you guys think. And everybody gave it a big thumbs up. So the good folks at Alley Cat have done a fantastic job with that beer. Thank you to everyone who's bought some 6 o'clocker lager. And I know like Potts down in Fort Sask, the Summit at Silent Ice Center. We're going to get it at Local on Jasper Avenue, as well as Mr. Mike's has it. Shamrock Curling Club also has it. So, if it's available, you can get it in kegs. If you have a business or a restaurant or a bar that wants to put it on tap, it's available that way as well. Awesome stuff. Coach Mike texts in, says, hey, Tommy, won't the new line combinations potentially feed into the bad habits, 29 and 97, overpass the puck at times? And that seems to creep it to the power play. Regardless, the Oilers should roll tonight, Coach Mike. Coach Mike, that's a good point. That is a good point. Unless, I don't know how attached Kris Knoblauch is to these lines right now. The way he spoke post-game, and, we're listening on the post-game show, it just, he was flat out. He's like, we needed a jolt. I needed to do something to get this group going because they were flat. And so I don't know if he's really married to these lines, but we have seen him stick with lines longer than previous coaching staffs have. So I don't know. I don't give this setup at forward a lot of runway in terms of lasting power. You know what I mean? But yeah, the theory on 29-97 overpassing, they've been doing that on the power play a ton. Does it creep it to the 5-on-5? Yeah, maybe, but maybe they just overpower the Hawks. What if, and I might have to bounce this off of Cass when he joins us. What if Knoblauch wants a good start and he wants to take the game right away, so it's a no-doubter by the time we're halfway through and we're watching and the Oilers are up a few goals and, quote-unquote points in the bag. So maybe that's the strategy. I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming that the lines will be switched back to something similar to what we saw going into that game against Columbus that they'd been using for the last little bit. But Coach Mike, that is a good point. Rip City Step sending in a thing about NBA All-Star. That's cool, Rip City Step. The boys will probably chew on that tomorrow morning. This one from Jason, the pharmacist, says, hey, Tommy, I'm thinking we keep the streak alive tonight. Saturday is the tough one. Are you still adding to the map? Put a pin in Maple Creek, Saskatchewan, if you are. Yes, we are totally adding to the map. And Zach to come let YouTube Trev know to add Maple Creek, Saskatchewan to the map. Sound good?
Noted. Just told him.
Perfect. Fish Tank says, awesome job. Thank you, Tommy. Yeah, keep those going. The rink report we will keep doing. And Dell says that he's estimating that I'm at least 410. Yes, Dell nailed it. Nailed it, Dell. All right, let's go inside the locker room for the Oilers. And let's hear from head coach Kris Knoblauch. And then Matty Kassian will be joining us on the other side of that. Let's go to that, Zach. To come.
Anyway, the way the lines ended the last game, is that just to try to keep that rolling or keep it fresh?
Yeah, we're going to start the game tonight the way we finished last game.
You've been pretty consistent with lines. Is that tough not to? I don't know if it's react or overreact if you're midway through the second and you don't have a goal, and a lot of times coaches will change. But for the most part, you seem to hold off on that.
I often think, us coaches, we overreact. We change things up more than they need to. Often it's up to the players to figure things out, work things out. And there obviously is times where you are changing things up for, a strategy or for line matches or something like that. But, I think the last game it was just ultimately we need to make a change. We were very stale. We need to freshen things up, and they responded in the third period.
You're pretty upfront about that post-game the other night. How much confidence do you have in this group? I know it's on a 14-game heater right now, but to play the right way, do the right things, weed out those bad habits.
It's a long season, and there's always going to be times when we're not perfect. And And a lot of credit should be given to the opposition, how well they're playing, and how, just because the team's down in the standings and doesn't mean it should be easy for the team that's winning games or above them in the standings. I'm just, we're trying to promote that we bring our best all the time. And the more times you do that, the more successful you'll be. But there's going to be downs or times where we're just not playing our best. And the first 2 periods last game was definitely that situation.
When you're on a streak like this, obviously the noise from us, the media, gets louder and louder with each game that goes by. What's the coach's job in trying to maybe keep that noise out of the dressing room? Or do you trust the players that they keep that focus?
I don't know what happens in that dressing room as soon as I walk out of it. I don't know what they're talking about, but I don't think the streak or what we're doing 2 weeks from now really gets mentioned. We just want to be in the present. We want to be in the now. And what do we need to be successful tonight? How are we going to win this game tonight? And I think we've been doing a pretty good job on staying focused on the now.
Talked after the game how you liked McLeod and Holloway and Brown, how they kind of came together. What do you see in that line? What's the kind of ideal when they're playing their best? What do you see?
Well, it's only 20 minutes and probably 4 or 5 shifts that they've actually played together. So to say that they've really got chemistry or they're something that I really like, I don't know. I know that McLeod, whoever he's been playing with, has been driving a line and doing quite well. He's had numerous line mates on the third line as our third line centerman, and he's been able to adapt and play left wing with Leon for a long stretch of time. So, right now, hopefully it's something that works with those 3, but we'll see.
Right. The combination of Holloway and McLeod, a lot of speed there. Expected that to kind of play a role in forechecking and all that type of stuff.
Well, absolutely, with their speed, no matter who they're playing with, whether they're playing together or they're playing on a different line away from each other. Yeah, we want speed to get in on the forecheck, make things hard for the defenseman. If you give any player time and space, whether it's a defenseman or forward, they're more likely to make plays. Well, now with those 2 being able to get in on the forecheck, and they should be getting their stick on a lot of pucks or even finishing checks, that makes it hard for that defenseman to make plays. If they're playing well tonight, they'll be doing that.
Okay, that was head coach Kris Knoblauch ahead of his team's matchup with the Chicago Blackhawks. The Hawks have not won a road game since November 9th. 18 in a row they've lost on the road, or winless in 18, I should say. They have lost some games in OT, and it's been a rough stretch. November 9th was also when the Oilers fell to 2-9-1. My goodness, have things changed in a big way for the Oil, and then the Hawks just struggling away from home. Injuries galore, and it's just been a rough year as anticipated, but not to this extent, I don't think, certainly. Let's go back inside the Oilers locker room. Who do you want to hear from first, Zach, to come?
The man, the myth, the legend, Leon Draisaitl.
It seems like the streak is secondary to the wins and playoff positioning. Is that the way you and the team see it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've been playing some good hockey lately. We didn't put ourselves in a great situation early on in the year, so, being able to claw back and have this streak going right now is big for us. We needed that, but, we're just looking to continue that tonight.
Could you discuss the domination really in the third period? It's 26-6. What is it about your third periods lately and the focus and attention?
Sorry. I think that, we probably played the 2 worst periods in a long time the last game. So we knew we had to regroup and obviously didn't want the streak to end there. So had to pull it together for 20 minutes. We knew that. We were aware of that. And that's also what good teams do sometimes, right? We didn't have it the first 40 minutes, and then we turned it on a bit and ended up winning the game. So, not the way we want to start games or play the first 40 minutes, but sometimes that's just the way it is.
Kris has really been a big fan of continuity, kept guys together a long time. That third period was kind of the first time that we see the lines here today. Is it nice, it's strange as it sounds, that there's a little bit of a change sometimes, even when things are rolling?
Yeah, both is nice. Having the same guys to work with, no matter what, is a nice feeling. But also, the change every once in a while is good for certain guys too. So, we'll see how it goes tonight.
Both goaltenders. I know Stewart's played more, but Cal's been good too. Like, it just seems there's never that back-breaking goal or that one that swings the game for the other team.
Yeah, they've been phenomenal for us, both of us. Kept us in games whenever they're in, and gave us a chance to find our legs in some of the games. So, they've been great for us.
All right, there's Leon Draisaitl as he and the Oilers get set to welcome in the Chicago Blackhawks to town. Puck drop just under an hour away, actually, 59 minutes at 7:08. Matty Kassian will be joining us right away. He looks like Cass, thumbs up if you're good to go. He's good to go. All right, let's get him on there, Zach, to come. Cass is ready to rock as we welcome him in for Game Changers. Brought to you, as always, by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. Damon Bunting, consistent, top-producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Remax realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Community-driven. Damon understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out on DamonBunting.com. Visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. It is our game analyst, Matty Kassian. Cass, what's going on? You doing good? You've been busy.
I'm doing good. Been busy.
Today.
Well, the last 2 weeks, really, guys, the last 2 weeks has been, I don't want to say absolute chaos, but controlled chaos in a lot of ways. So lots of running around. Got to spend some time in the West End today, which was great. Kicking around the studio for a little Two Guys and a Goalie podcast, which I actually thought was a really good, if you haven't tuned in, and I know the game's about to start, but if you want to listen to something, you got a little bit of time after listening to this, maybe during the intermissions, you want to listen to something. I thought it was a pretty interesting episode. Dug into a lot of stuff outside of the Oilers, a little bit into the AJHL, a little bit of Hockey Canada. It was, we had some, I don't want to necessarily say it was all fun, but I thought it was a good show.
Good flow to it for sure. The topics, and it was bouncing pretty good. I highly enjoyed that as per usual, but you're right. It had a little extra kick in it today in the step. So it was nice. It was really nice to see and good to hear. You guys are just pros. That's all I want to say.
Well, so are you, buddy. So are you. It runs in the family, right? Runs in the family.
Yeah. There we go. We pump each other's backs.
Yeah.
We pump each other up. All good. We've got each other's backs. Having said that, let's dive into Game Changers now. Brought to you by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. Cass, you want to start off with number one, which is $29.25 million. Go on.
Oh, pretty hefty injury cap hit right there for the Chicago Blackhawks. Connor McDavid and I always hate Andreas Athanasiou, Taylor Hall, Anthony Bouvier, Tyler Johnson, Connor Murphy, and Nikita Zaitsev all out of the lineup. A massive amount of injuries on a Chicago team that already wasn't that deep to begin with. You look up and down that lineup, Tommy, like, is there, aside from like Foligno, I look at the top six and I'm just like, there's not a true top six in there.
No.
There's not. Like, it's not a team that should scare you. And on the back end, I mean, you have Vlasic and Jones holding down the top pair, but not much after that. Really, I mean, Kevin Korchinski is going to be a great defenseman. Going to be fantastic, I think. A young guy that has stepped in and played quite well, but he's not very old and experienced, and still has some growing to do in his overall game. Now, I think he'll get there, just like a lot of the young players in the Chicago Blackhawks. I mean, the future down the road a little bit is bright, but man, if you're the Edmonton Oilers and you either the beginning of the season or before the season started or anywhere over this 14 game winning streak, or really anywhere over the last month and a half, if you looked at the Chicago Blackhawks lineup, you have to be saying to yourself, there is no way that we should lose this hockey game. And it's kind of an interesting place to be at. I think, in the midst of this win streak, you want to keep it going, to know that you're playing a ravaged and depleted Chicago Blackhawks team, and you still got to find a way just to get that jump up. Now, I think it might help that they almost lost to Chicago not that long ago, and Stuart Skinner had to bail them out of that one. I think that might help because they're maybe a little bit more wary going into this. But certainly, Tommy, from an overall roster standpoint, like the Edmonton Oilers have to be just salivating to just run around this. I mean, this should be like Team Canada versus like Denmark at the Olympics with NHLers there. Like that's what this should be like. It maybe not quite that bad, but realistically, there should be no way that this team beats you. Now, still got to play the game. Chicago is going to be playing. They're going to be playing hard. But Tommy, this lineup is absolutely crushed right now for Chicago.
It is, and Jason Dickinson is the second line center, and he's having a good year, and I think he's a good player, but he shouldn't be a second line center, right? Like the third line guy that can moonlight a little bit,
line, like moonlight on occasion, like kind of sliding up and down. But to be a regular second line guy, and that's not to say he's not a good hockey player. I mean, really, everyone here on the ice for Chicago, they're still really good hockey players.
Absolutely.
But just you put them up against the Oilers lineup, and it's not nearly as good of a lineup.
Cass, speaking of that, because on January 9th, when we were getting ready for that Oilers at Chicago game, we were kind of saying the same thing. And then, like you said, Skinner had to be really good. I think we declared that a Skinner steal that night as well. Is the thought that this is a trap game, is it top of mind? Is it valid isn't the right word. Is it worth keeping note of? Because that night in Chicago did not really go that well, although the Oilers did win. Could that happen again?
Of course it could. It almost happened against Columbus. Now, second part of, I think, looking into this game is, I think the first two periods, and they have acknowledged, and they really were not great. They were actually quite poor against Columbus. And, they wake up in the third, they still win a game, which is great. They, found a way and then took over. I think when you combine what just about happened against Columbus and you combine that with what just about happened versus Chicago the last time they played Chicago, I mean, I think they're looking at this going like, hey, we got to be ready today, knowing that the lineup, and I know I just went through how decimated the Blackhawks lineup is, but really the Oilers in that dressing room should be doing the same thing to say, yeah, they're really decimated, but hey, we just about got beat by Columbus. Really, we were one Gaudreau beating Stuart Skinner's amazing save away from maybe losing that hockey game until the third, and we turn the Jets on. So let's have the Jets on from the beginning tonight.
All right. It is Matt Kassian and Game Changers as we get you set for the Oilers and the Blackhawks. Number one was $29.25 million. Number two, Pickard.
Well, it's finally happened, much to the chagrin of one Joaquin Gage, who is incredibly disappointed and, dare I say, upset and agonized that Pickard is in net. But Tommy, it's time. It's time. Now, Gager wanted to run Skinner through. I never thought it was a good idea, just even with the length of time then that your backup would have been sitting on the bench, not playing, and then All-Star break, not playing. So I like the fact that he's going in today. It is a really decimated lineup, so you're putting him in, not in an easy win scenario, but you're giving him an opportunity here and giving the players an opportunity to play in front of him. Now, the flip side is what we just discussed, in that they didn't play very well against Columbus for two periods. And if that were to happen tonight, again, say Chicago comes out with some jam and Edmonton's just really, really flat, well, Pickard's going to have to be on his game. And really, even if the Oilers are playing well, it's going to be the type of game where for Calvin Pickard, it's going to be just don't let in the easy goal. Yeah, if you get beaten in a 2-on-1, you get beaten in a 2-on-1. But just don't let in the easy goal. Make the saves you were supposed to make, which is what a good backups typically do. Just make the saves you're supposed to make. Don't have to do anything crazy and let the guys work in front of you. I'm hoping he's not overly challenged tonight, but I'm hoping we see, since he hasn't played in a while, just a steady performance from him. I mean, he's been really good in this run and prior to. He's played very well. Want to see that again tonight from him.
Pickard hasn't played since January 11th. That was the win in Detroit. Allowed 2 goals on 18 shots in that one. And that was a Darnell Nurse overtime winner if I recall correctly. And so, yeah, he's been sitting for the last couple of weeks. His record so far this season, 4-2, 269 goals against average, 903 save percentage in the 7 games he's played. Pickard versus the Blackhawks, 2-4 record, 323 GAA, 925 save percentage in 8 appearances against Chicago over the course of his NHL career. All right, number 1 was $29.25 million. Number 2 was Pickard. Number 3, blended.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard the interviews, or some of the interviews already from the Oilers locker room, where there's been some discussion about the lines. I mean, you went through the lines already, Tommy. There's been a lot of talk today all over Edmonton sports talk, rightfully so, about the lines that the Edmonton Oilers are carrying in tonight. Now, first a comment, because we talked about this after the game, about how Knoblauch really didn't panic in hitting that button and changing things up. And I even, the post game in his further comments, and when he was asked more about it, I actually really liked, because it lined up perfectly with how I saw, and I think how you saw it too, Tommy, in that he didn't do it panicking. He was like, well, no, there are some things there, and we decided to make a little bit of a change. And then they had some jump and they had some fire. And I like going to this and staying with it, to give it a little bit of an opportunity to run and to breathe now, especially with Corey Perry soon being added to the mix, where it's like, okay, let's have a little bit of a different look. Let's have a look where maybe against a team like Chicago, we can stack up a line, because, I guarantee you they're going to be trying to give, Jones and Vlasic the lion's share of the minutes if they can against that McDavid Draisaitl line. But Edmonton Oilers have home change advantage. So,
Yep.
When you look down that Chicago lineup, like, again, if Korchinski's a guy that's playing left defense on their second pair, like there's going to be some challenge there for Chicago. So I'm kind of a fan of overloading it a little bit and then just saying, hey, we have a little bit of a different look. I like the Fogle, Ryan Nugent Hopkins, Kane line. I like that you have 2 guys. Like, it's such a completely different line, because the Draisaitl, McDavid, Hyman line, Hyman, yes, they produce offense when they have possession in zone. Of course they can, but this is like that's a rush producing offense line. Like, that's where McDavid and Draisaitl typically thrive, is in transition, off the rush. Those 2 love to generate. And when they play together, that's really where they generate. So that's like a high speed coming at you line. The RNH Kane Fogle line, that's like we're going to kind of grind you down, have good offensive zone time. We're going to hit you. We're going to turn pucks over on the forecheck. And then we're going to have 2 or 3 bodies at the net, trying to dig pucks out on that line. So I just like how it's just constructed a little bit different. Now, not necessarily how you'd go up against a Vegas in the playoffs, for example, but just to have a little bit of a different look here, Tom, I do like it. I like that they're staying with it. And who's to say if it doesn't work, and if you have another ho-hum period, you can't go back to how it was before.
Now, in regard to the lines and Knoblauch sticking with it, I just threw it out there. It crossed my mind earlier in the show, and I said maybe he wants to take this game as soon as possible and have those guys, like you said, overloading it, going nuclear option, quote unquote, and just making sure that the game is in hand by, let's say, midway through the second period, so the halfway point. Yep. But there was and that was just a theory that it crossed my mind, and I kind of put it out there. We did get a text from Coach Mike earlier that said, hey, won't the new line combinations potentially feed into the bad habits? 29-97 overpass the puck at times. Totally true. And that seems to creep into the power play. Regardless, the Oilers should roll tonight, Coach Mike. The thought that Coach Mike had there, Cass, about the bad habits creeping in with these new line combinations, I was like, yeah, I understand that. What would you say to Coach Mike and that thought?
Well, the whole reason for changing lines going into the third was the bad habits that were in the game, the first 2 periods of that game, where it was like they weren't playing very well. They didn't have jump. They were throwing pucks away. There was a million turnovers, it feels like. And so it was like, hey, this needs to change. Now, when they changed it, they immediately got that out of their game. They went back to how they were playing before, and they absolutely dominated for the third period against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I get that there'd be concern from that, but you could also have just as much concern for the same thing if they went back to the lines and kept them the same. Because it's like, well, the old lines, they had the bad habits creep in for a couple periods against Columbus. So, to me, it's kind of the last group that you put out there in terms of, or combinations that you put out there, wasn't doing that and wasn't throwing the puck away. Now, could it happen that McDavid Draisaitl line get into that? Of course it could. Of course it could. And could you? And I think there's a couple questions in the nasty chat about tinkering with the bottom six that's been quite successful. Could all of a sudden you throw that into disarray? Of course you could. Of course you could. But that's what the coaching staff is supposed to be watching for and making adjustments if they need to. Again, it's pretty easy to go back to the lines the way they were before. And I kind of agree with you from a theoretical standpoint in that I think part of the reason in keeping them this way is just because Chicago is so decimated that you're looking at your top guys and saying, let's let these guys, run free at the start of the game, hopefully get up a couple, and then, we can let our bottom six play, or we don't have to play our top guys as much.
Yeah. Breathe a little bit. Let the game breathe if you get it in hand midway through or early on. Okay. I wanted to get to this text that came in from Kyle in Lacombe. Says, this is Kyle from Lacombe. Do you think Corey Perry signing was a good idea? And what do you think he will bring to the team? Cass, what would you tell Kyle from Lacombe?
I like it. We talked about that a little bit. I like it because it was, you didn't have any assets out. You didn't have to spend anything aside from cap space, and you waived Ernie and sent him down. So it ends up being kind of moot in terms of dollars. A little bit different, but not much, not a lot, not overly consequential. And I think what he brings is he does bring a guy we have talked, and I think Joaquin Gager and me were on the same page. I think most people were on the same page. Is like, you're kind of hoping out, for like a 15 points from Corey Perry down the stretch. Like, you would be happy with 15 points. Anything on top of that, you're absolutely thrilled. Now, if he is under 10, you're a little bit disappointed, and rightfully so in that instance. But he brings a veteran experience, which is important. And we see, I think, how Sam Gagner affects the team when he's in the lineup, because they're typically better when he's in the lineup.
Yeah.
Having a veteran guy that can calm things down. And also, I think adding just that little bit of a spark plug to your bottom six. And by spark plug, I just mean guy that's really, really annoying to play against, that just agitates, that I think understands when a team is flat, how to bring emotion into a game. And they don't really have guys that do that in the bottom six. Vander Kane maybe, but he's not always the best at flipping that switch where it's like the team's really quiet, and so he goes and does something and all of a sudden the emotion's up. Now, he does it sometimes, but he's good when the game's already, like, when he's already at pace and they're playing well, then he's typically involved in that. But they don't really have anybody that's like, I'm just going to start a massive scrum, that's going to take 3 minutes to get broken up, and I'm going to kind of bump the goalie, not enough to get a penalty, but enough to make someone angry. They don't have that. And so, Lavoie, big body, that's not his game. Holloway plays fast, has been doing more of those things, like being a little bit more physical, being around the puck, being a little bit more annoying, but you certainly can't rely on him to do that all the time. And that's not necessarily his full forte. Now, is an element to his game, fantastic. Ryan McLeod's not doing it. Like Sam Gagner, kind of, he does it a little bit, but that hasn't always been his game. So, you bring a guy with that in, and on top of that, Corey Perry, he's not the offensive player that he once was, but the guy won a Richard. Like, he has the ability still to put up some points, to score some goals, and to move around the lineup if you need to. So I actually think he brings quite a bit.
Yeah. Hall of Famer, I think we can all say and agree on that for sure. 780-218-9999. If you want to text us, if you have anything for Cass, any questions or anything like that, shoot us a note. And then Nasty Chat, I've been kind of keeping tabs. Nasty Chat looks like it's been a healthy conversation going on there, as it tends to have. A couple of texts here, Cass, that I wanted to float to you. Norman, a Combine, says, crap, I would leave them apart. What do I know? LOL. Norm in a Combine. And then John of St. Albert says, what do you think the lineup will be Saturday when Corey Perry enters it? Cass, what would you think?
Let's go here. I think you'll have a reversion back to the original for your top six. Like, I think Draisaitl slides back down. I basically think for that first game, and it's his first game in a while, and I don't necessarily love doing it, but I think it's the easiest decision. Is I think Gagner just slides out and Perry slides into his spot.
Yeah.
So you'll see the lines back to how they were at the start of the game against Columbus. And then you'll see Perry slide in there. Now, the nice thing is you still have flexibility from a deserving standpoint. Sam Gagner is putting up really good points in the time that he's playing. He's being really productive. Ideally right now, Brown probably is the guy that comes out. Buddy Poundley kills. Mark as well. Not a lot on the point production. Buddy Poundley kills. And the Poundley killing has been a massive, massive part of this win streak and of their playing. So Gagner, in a lot of ways, becomes the easiest guy to take out. Now, as I said, you got flexibility, but most likely you'll see the top six revert back to how they were, and really just you probably Corey Perry sliding into that fourth line right wing position.
Yeah. The PK has crept into the top 10 in
Which
the
is
NHL.
nuts.
I
Tommy.
know.
Absolutely.
Bring it up. They're 82.7%. They have 4 shorthanded goals, and they sit 9th going into action tonight. Cass, remember in the first 2 months, it was like automatic. They were allowing 1, if
At
not
least.
2.
Yep.
And now it's changed. And I think that is a huge credit to Mark Stewart. And then the guys who were doing the job on the ice, getting it done, and then the goaltending, the defense. Like, it's been a good combination of everyone making it work. So that has been a huge boost to this team, is the PK getting to where it's at now, which is 9th in the National Hockey League. And it was hovering. I think Cass dipped as low as like 27th at one point this season.
Yep.
It was rough.
It may have even been 28th. Like, it was
even 28th. Yeah.
It was bad.
Super, super bad. All right, Cass. Fantastic stuff as always. Look forward to catching up with you on the post-game show. Enjoy the game, and we'll chat in a little bit, my friend.
Sounds good, buddy.
That is our game analyst, Matt Kassian, bringing us Game Changers, brought to you, as always, by Damon Bunting, Remax Elite. That, like Cass was talking about, the penalty kill, just outstanding now. 9th in the National Hockey League, 82.7%. 4 shorties added, and then you got the power play for the Oilers, which sits 6th at 25.7%, 35 for 126. I should say it was 6th coming into action tonight, to clarify. And then the Blackhawks, on the other hand, power play 19 for 151. That's 12.6% efficiency, 32nd in the NHL, so last. And then the Blackhawks PK, 26th in the NHL at 77.3%. They have chipped in with 3 short-handed markers. So a special teams battle should favor the Oilers. Will they get on the power play? If they do, will they be too cute with it? They can be. That's for sure. Time will tell. All right, 9 games in the National Hockey League tonight. Let's take a look at out-of-town scores. I've been watching Detroit and Philadelphia. I finally got my office in my condo done. I got the TV hung up here. I've got Struddy's New York Islanders reverse retro Captain Highliner jersey on my wall. The couch is, beer fridge. Got to get some 6 o'clockers in there. The carpet, it's all coming together at the EST Satellite Studios. So I will start with that game where the Red Wings lead the Flyers 3-0 in Detroit. 5 minutes left in the second period. Montreal up 3-1 on the Islanders. Patrick Waugh and the Islanders. 7 minutes left in the second there. Boston up 2-0 on Ottawa in our nation's capital, or just outside in Canada. 4 minutes left in the second period. 3 minutes left in the second in Tampa, where the Lightning are crushing the Arizona Coyotes 5-1. 1-0 Carolina leads New Jersey. Second period just getting underway there. Dallas up 1-0 on Anaheim. Less than 5 minutes left to play in the first, and then no score between Minnie and Nashville in Minnesota. Calgary welcomes in Columbus, and then the Oilers are the late game versus the Hawks, and that is the 9 games on the NHL schedule tonight. So there you go. You're up to speed. 780-218-9999 if you want to text us, and then you can hit us up in the nasty chat as well if you're watching on our Edmonton Sports Talk YouTube channel. Thumbs up, smash it if you don't mind. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do that. I see we're picking up some steam here, getting closer and closer to 7,000. Maybe we get there for subscribers by the end of the month, but it's nice to see word of mouth getting out there. We haven't advertised at all in the 5 months that we've been back on the air, but it's getting out there, and the 6 o'clocker logger helps with that. And we certainly appreciate everything that all the nasties and our new viewers and listeners have done to spread the word that we've been back for a little while now. So that's really, really encouraging. And it allows us to do things like put on a Super Bowl party, which we'll be doing. Join Edmonton Sports Talk for the Super Bowl at Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge, Sunday, February 11th. You'll have a chance to win EST merch, a spot on the Hangout, and more. Plus, our 6 o'clocker lager will be in stock and available for the big game only at Century Casino on Fort Road. And Renee from Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge will be on the Hangout on Monday alongside Josh Clausen. That should be a great one. We have Derek Van Diest joining us next week, and we have a couple other pretty good semi-regular guests that'll be joining. We haven't confirmed with them, but I talked to them today, and they look like they will probably be joining us. Maybe Gene and maybe Big G, Jerry Matajong as well. Hopefully they can make it next week. It'll be a great week on the Hangout, as it always is. Today, Crush and Gager were excellent. I love Crush's energy, and it's so good to have Crush as a friend of EST as well. You can catch his show on here, and we've put together a really solid lineup of friends of EST, and we're very, very proud of that. So thank you to everyone for allowing us to be back and to do what we love to do, and to bring you a little bit of entertainment, some information, and continue on and build off of the good stuff we had going at 1260. One of those guys that's been with us from day one and has come up with a lot of our artwork is Tube Socks, who is in Calgary. And he says, my Calgary hotel room might be depressing, but at least I've got good beer and a good pregame on. And he's got a picture of his laptop with the 6 o'clocker lager. And Tube Socks, hang in there, pal. You're in Calgary. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. Don't take deep breaths there. The air is bad there, as one knows from the capital region. I'm kidding. I say that in jest. All right. Let's go back inside the Oilers locker room. We have one more player to get to. Zach to come. Who are we going to hear from?
We're going to hear from Papa Clutch himself, Sam Gagner.
This very long winning streak, I know you missed some games in the middle, and also a part of a very long winning streak in Columbus. I mean, are there any comparisons between the feeling between the two, or how teams are able to put it together?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime there's a streak like this, there's always comparisons. I look at, we got great goaltending throughout that entire streak in Columbus. We're getting it here. Your depth needs to contribute, special teams, top guys. I think you need contributions all throughout your lineup, and we're getting that. I think we're in a position, where we had a tough start, and we need every game we can get. So we're not focused too much on the streak, and just focusing on, putting wins together a game at a time. It's been a lot of fun, but we still have a lot of work to do.
Did the guys in Columbus talk about it? I mean, you guys have talked about it, but yet not talked about it. Was it more of a thing or less of a thing with the Jackets? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think it was a bit more of a thing there. I think, like I said, we had gotten off to a pretty good start that year in Columbus. I think we were leading the league at that point. So it was there was more talk of the streak and how far we could extend it and trying to break the record and all that. I think for us, we went through some adversity early in the year, and it's important for us to just continue to, put our best foot forward and try and get wins, take it a game at a time, and that's all our focus is on right now.
Sam, Leon, I think he said the two worst periods of the season. That's debatable, obviously, but he's making a point. But what do you want to see change tonight from your guys' overall game?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't to our standard for sure, and if not for Stu, the game probably would have ended up a lot differently. So, I think we found a way to get a win, so you have to, take some confidence from that. But at the same time, we have a recipe that we know works in here, and it's just keeping things simple, making sure that we're competing and our details are correct. I thought we got away from that. Obviously, a few too many turnovers, too many chances against, and something that good teams rectify quickly. So we have to focus on that tonight and have a better effort.
When you're on a streak like this, how much of it is you're in the moment? I know guys have said that they'll look back on this at the end of the year and finally reflect upon it. Was that like it in Columbus, that you didn't really think too much about it while you were in the moment? You look back on it later on?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, with the start of the year we had, I don't think we really have an opportunity to be looking too much at a streak or, what it means. I think we have a different focus in here, and, it's just making sure we're continuing to build our game and get points and get wins. So however they come, that has to be our focus. And, I think throughout all this, I've liked the way our group has been focused on the things that are in our control, and we have to continue to do that.
Sam Gagner there. Always great to catch up with him, and he always gives you a pretty honest answer. So really appreciate that from Sam Gagner, who was on that Columbus Blue Jackets team that won 16 in a row, 7 years ago now. And interesting that he points out that it was different for that Jackets team, that they did talk about it in the room, whereas the Oilers, they are aware. Obviously, you can't ignore the fact that you've rattled 14 in a row off, but it's not a focal point. We talk about it as media. The fan base talks about it. They're excited about it, as they should be. But it truly does, when you're in the room and you talk to them, you get the sense that they appreciate what they're doing right now. But I think there's also, I'm going to use the term shame for how bad things went early in the season that they feel like they need to atone for. I don't mind that mindset. I think it's good. And if you need a reminder that they're not a perfect team, they just look back to the first month and a half of the season. Just a quick update from Detroit. Klim Kostin fought Nick Delorier. I was hoping for a really exciting fight. A lot of misses, and I think they danced around a little bit more than they actually fought. So things get a little feisty at Little Caesars Arena between the Red Wings and the Flyers. And so that's the update there. Now, we can go inside the Blackhawks locker room or to their pregame availability. Zach DeCum, who do we have that we could get to from the Hawks?
We got head coach Luke Richardson on the other end.
Well, their goalie played really well, but we're just having trouble burying goals. I thought our power play looked like a power play and really shot the puck well. And, we could have got another bounce there. That would have been great. But, for us, like they had one that went off their shin pad that was going 2 feet wide, and then one off our foot and off our goalie's leg. So if we could get one of these games, it would just give us maybe a little bit of a boost. But, I think sometimes we got to be better as well. Like I thought we had a really okay start, and then we have a D-zone face-off win, and we don't get it out, and it's in our net. And then, another kind of miscue in the first period that's in our net. So we can't play like 2 or 3 good shifts and have one bad one. So we got to make sure we're more consistent, and that's what we've been trying to do all year, and that's what we're not there yet.
It's an auto breakaway stop. All of it. That's the season right there, right?
Yeah, that's a momentum breaker there. I think it was rolling on him quite a bit all the way down the ice, but the goalie played well. He played really well, and then Tatar came down and put it in our net, so that takes a little bit of wind out of the sails there for sure.
What happened exactly? It was kind of hard to tell kind of how Tatar got that break.
I think he was dragging behind on the way back, and I think Kevin made a change, came on the ice, and probably wanted to switch to get on the left side, but you just got to play your position at that point until you get sorted out. Tatar just kind of hung around behind him, and we kind of let the guys know, like, if they get change of possession, they will blow the zone. So we're aware of it. We just kind of were, we missed it for about 2 or 3 seconds, and that's all it takes.
It seemed like there were some tough moments for Alex Vlasic in particular. The second goal by Schwartz, is there anything he should have done differently?
You mean the one, the second goal in the first period, you mean?
Yeah.
Vlasic does so many good things, and he did, even drawing that penalty in the third period because he's such a good skater. He does so many good things and it covers up for so many people, other miscues that, I'm not sure if he can do too much more tonight. He's probably -3 on the game sheet, but I don't think he's directly responsible for any of the goals.
On the own goal, you want to see kind of room it around, I guess?
It's a tough pop play. I think he's trying to give it to Dickinson there, and it goes off Vlasi's foot, but that's a tough play. It's kind of against the flow when you do that play. I don't know. I think sometimes we have to be a little more comfortable hold on to pucks down in those corners until we have an out. And maybe sometimes it's a little bump off the wall behind our net and use the weak side. And, at times we've been good at that this year, and at times we're a little bit rushed to make a play. But Seth thought played really well tonight. I thought he's shot the puck really well tonight, especially in the power play. And, it led to some good chances and obviously a good goal because they really zipped it around on that last power play.
Is a silver wound just kind of hard luck?
Yeah, a little bit. It's a young goaltender getting some reps in and he made some really good saves, looked very confident out there. Unfortunately, that one, I'm sure he doesn't like that one that goes off a foot, start off the second period when we felt like we maybe got a little momentum back. But you know what, that's the way it goes. We have to battle through that, and so does he individually.
All right, there was head coach of the Chicago Blackhawks and former Edmonton Oiler, Luke Richardson, talking about last night's loss, 6-2 in Seattle for the Blackhawks, and they're looking for their first win in that would be 9. They've lost or are winless in 18 in a row on the road, haven't won a road game since November 9th, and it's just been a tough go. Obviously, injury is a huge factor for the Blackhawks right now and for the majority of the season, a depleted lineup, and we'll see that again tonight for the Hawks. The Oilers mixing things up a little bit. If you haven't caught the lineup earlier or didn't get a chance to catch the lineup earlier in the day, this is what the Oilers are expected to roll with. McDavid between Draisaitl and Hyman, Nugent-Hopkins with Kane and Foegele, McLeod between Holloway and Brown, Ryan with Janmark and Gagner, Nurse paired up with Ceci, Ekholm with Bouchard, Kulak with Desharnais, and then your starting goalie is Calvin Pickard for the Oil. He is 2-4 lifetime versus Chicago, .323 goals against average, .925 save percentage in 8 appearances versus the Hawks in his career. And then this season, Pickard 4-2 with a .269 goals against average, .903 save percentage in the 7 games he's played. And then at the other end of the rink, it'll be 31-year-old Peter Mrazek, 12-17-1 on the season. .301 GAA, .907 save percentage, 1 shutout for Mrazek in 32 games this season. Mrazek versus Edmonton in his career, a 3-5 record with a .313 goals against average, .888 save percentage, and in those 3 wins, 2 of them have come via shutout. 9 appearances versus the Oil over the course of his career. Zach to come. We've got some more Blackhawks to get to. Who's next?
Joey Anderson is up next, Tommy.
It's just not good enough defensively. I think we had more chances tonight to score, but you can't give up the stuff we were giving up defensively tonight. It's just repetitive, and but yeah, just not good enough defensively. I mean, the looks we're giving them up all night, you can't give those up and trade for offense. It's got to come the right way, and tonight we just didn't do it for long enough.
It seems like the F3s have been pretty good the past few weeks, and there were just a couple times that kind of got lost a little bit tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it before the game. They're a team that likes to fly guys. Once they get the possession, they take off, and we just didn't do a good enough job staying above their third guy and getting back. And even their fourth man in the rush, their D like to get involved, and it just wasn't good enough tonight from us getting back and keeping them to the outside. It's just soft defensively.
Just that stretch in the third period of the breakaway to breakaway, kind of back-breaking.
Obviously it's a big momentum swing, and it's unfortunate, but like I said, we get that chance offensively. We can't take our guard down just because it didn't go in. We need 5 guys to stay dialed in defensively and not let a guy get in behind us. And it's the same thing. It's a game plan. They fly a guy, so Tatar's behind them right after that breakaway, and they mailed it up to him. And obviously he made good on his chance, but it should never get to that. We should be in that spot and covering that. So it's just sloppy.
Was the own goal even more of a heartbreaker?
Yeah, it's a bad bounce. I think maybe you can say what we want about it, but it's just unfortunate.
Is it hard to not give Circle more support, knowing that he's trying to get back on track here?
Yeah, I mean he's played good in his last couple out there for us, and Like I said, it wasn't on him tonight. We didn't give him anything. The looks they were getting were, any goalie's letting those in. So it's not on him tonight.
Can you take us through your goal?
It's just a good ozone shift. I think, we were in the cycle finally and putting pucks at the net. And I think it was Dickey just a good low to high and, Seth with a quick ready shoot and get a tip in front. And, we need more of that. We need more good ozone sequences like that. And, like I said, you got to be in the right spots defensively and it'll lead to more of that. But tonight it just wasn't good enough.
All right, that was Joey Anderson talking about his team's loss last night in Seattle, 6-2 at the hands of the Kraken, and a couple of interesting notes to pass along your way when it comes to the Blackhawks. Tonight, we will see Lukas Reichel in for Rem Pitlick, and Isaac Phillips goes in for Louis Crevier. That comes from play-by-play man Chris Vosters of the Blackhawks. So where those guys played yesterday, we had Philip Kurashev with Nick Foligno and Taylor Radish, Jason Dickinson with Colin Blackwell and Joey Anderson, who we just heard from, Mackenzie Entwistle with Ryan Donato, and now it looks like Lukas Reichel slots in for Rem Pitlick, who was there last night, and then Zach Sanford between Boris Kachuk and Reese Johnson, and then Alex Vlasic paired up with Seth Jones, Kevin Korchinski with Jacob Megna. Jared Tenorti is now going to be paired up with Isaac Phillips. So that is your update on the Blackhawks. And then this one from Ben Pope from earlier in the day, who's on the Blackhawks beat. He said, in January 2004, the Blackhawks traveled to Alberta, having lost 18 consecutive road games. They lost to Edmonton 5-2 in the first game. Their 19th straight road loss. They beat Calgary 5-3 the next day to end the streak. They're in the exact same situation now, needing to beat Edmonton tonight to avoid tying that record, or beat Calgary on Saturday to avoid setting a new record. It's a funny coincidence. We'll see what happens. That's from Ben Pope, who covers the team for the Sun-Times, the Chicago Sun-Times. And that's 20 years ago now. Were you born, Zach, to come when that happened?
20 years ago, I just did turn 20 in October. So
you were just a little bebe.
A bebe.
A little bebe when that happened. Yeah. So, we'll see how it goes. Those Hawks teams in the knots, or the aughts, right? The aughts were bad. They were bad. They had 7,000 fans showing up to United Center and a 22,000 seat arena. Like, that team was awful. And that Chicago club in the 04 season there was part of that. And so, yikes, 19 straight losses on the road back in 2004, I should say. It could be matched tonight. We'll see if the Oilers can make that happen. And then, you know what? Whatever happens in Calgary and the Blackhawks, maybe they snap the streak. Whatever. That's on Saturday. That's a problem for Saturday. Okay, let's wrap up with a few texts, and then maybe we'll take a look at the nasty chat. Jason in Leduc says, I want to congratulate the Edmonton Oilers for making the first half of the regular season extremely entertaining. I thought as a cup contender that the regular season might be a bit boring and slow and could not wait until the playoffs, but you are there somehow, some way, in typical Oiler fashion, have found a way to make the first half extremely engaging. Yeah, Jason and Leduc. They certainly don't do it the easy way, do they? This text comes in, said, Costin just had a good old-fashioned buckets off tilt with Delorier. Yes, Burgerler, I was watching it. I have it on in my office studio here, and they took the buckets off, threw them down, they lined up, and then, I don't know, there was more misses than punches landed, but Costin's a tough customer, and we all know Nick Delorier is also a really tough customer. This text from Sean says, I missed two guys and a goalie, but did Dusty ask Cass about his numerous bouts with Gazdic? Does Cass remember any of it? I should have got to that when Cass was on. My bad, Sean, but I did catch that part, and yes, Cass and Luke Gazdic fought a lot because they were in the same division in the AHL. Cass was down in Houston. Luke was playing for Texas, which is based out of Austin. And that division were the Barons, the Oklahoma City Barons, who were the Oilers farm team at the time. They all played each other like 12 times a year. San Antonio was in that division as well. And so there was a lot of nights where those two had to tilt. And they had some good battles. And Cass said that Gaz was a tough customer, as we saw in his time as a member of the Oilers and a little bit of time with the New Jersey Devils. And Cass was certainly a big beast out there as well. So those guys had some great battles for sure. And Cass did acknowledge that sometimes Luke got the upper hand, but then did point out there were some nights where I got the upper hand. So just two beasts, tough dudes going toe to toe. This text says, what kind of snacks do they have for you guys? Where did that come from? In the press box? There's pizza, there's nachos, there's soda, popcorn, and I think that's it. Coffee and tea. If that's what that is in regard to, you're up to date. Those are the snacks. All right. Zach to come. Final thoughts from you as we go into this Oilers Blackhawks game. Good job today. I want to say that. And let's get your final thoughts as we wrap up the pregame show.
Yeah, thank you. I really hope that the Oilers could go in and avoid those bad habits with McDavid and Draisaitl on that top line. It's going to be interesting to see, but only time will tell. I'm hopeful, and hopefully they could get it done.
Let's see if it happens. A lot of people in the nasty chat saying maybe they get one for Zach or Connor Brown, pardon me. Let's see. Some stranger says McDavid will bank one off of Brown tonight to get him a goal. Joel says happy anniversary to Trevor from the 1 year where he met Dusty and I when we were doing Oil Stream as just a podcast down at BP's. That was the Kingsway BP's. And yes, and now YouTube Trev is a full-time member of the EST staff. And Dell adds, if they get way ahead, the whole team should try to set Brown up. Dell, I'm with you on that one. We'll see if Connor Brown can get the job done and score his first goal of the season. That is going to do it for the Oil Stream pregame show. Thank you to everyone who watched, who listened. Smash that thumbs up button on your way out. We really appreciate you doing that. And a big thank you to Darren Pang for hopping on the Rink Report earlier today. For Zach to come, YouTube Trev, and Matty Kassian, I'm Tom Gazzola saying, enjoy the Oilers and Blackhawks. Can they make it 15 in a row? I like their chances. So we'll catch you on the postgame. Ciao for now.